Settlement refers to a group of houses or buildings with inhabitants. Settlements are an outcome of collective effort of human beings to utilize the resource of a region. The resources can be natural or cultural. According to social geographers, settlements come into existence when the people come and settle down at a place for utilizing the local resources collectively. The nature and type of resources available in a region is having a significant role in shaping the particular settlement pattern in that region. Let me think about origin of rural settlements. The precise reason for the formation of settlements are not known. Geographers and anthropologists propose several explanations for the evolution of settlements. The main reason for the establishment of rural settlements are attributed to numerous physical as well as socio-cultural factors. Let us have a look on them. The history as well as the evolution of settlements are closely related to the cultural evolution of human beings. In earlier phases of human civilization, there were no settlements. The earliest human beings lived in forest. Hunting and gathering were their major activity. They wandered here and there in search for food. These movements are dictated mainly by the availability of food. Natural phenomena and climatic variations also regulated their movements considerably. During this stage of hunting and gathering, people lived in small groups. They used natural shelters. People lived mainly in caves. Some of them lived on trees and built huts on the branches of these trees. Man used natural articles, mainly leaves of trees, to protect themselves from natural elements. Before the advent of agriculture, human beings were nomads. They wandered across the landscape in search of food and water. Food was obtained through gathering of wild fruits and wild roots. Hunting also was their main human activity. In earlier societies, man is deployed for gathering food. So, there should be a safe place for women to look after their kids. This led to the construction of temporary dwellings and growth of settlements. It is believed that first permanent rural settlements may have evolved around the burial places. The nomadic tribes had the rituals to honoring the dead. They performed memorial services on death anniversaries. Subsequently, a place of worship, for example a temple, developed around the burial places. It became a center of attraction of settlements. Thus, it is widely believed that settlements are evolved with some religious purposes basically. The hunting and gathering societies, people were essentially small in numbers. They had to travel more distances for obtaining food. Most of the human population of this phase is confined to tropical forest. In these areas, biomass production is very large and food was available throughout the year. Thus, it is clear that a very small fraction of the total area of the globe was occupied by these primitive hunting peoples. Since hunting requires unity, since it requires a collective effort, people began to form groups. They began to settle in groups. But the dwellings of these periods were not permanent. People changed their habitats most frequently. The first major change from hunting and gathering is marked as domestication of plants and animals. It was really a revolutionary change in the history of human evolution. In most cases, it is referred as agricultural revolution. It is almost 10,000 to 12,000 years ago. This phase laid foundation to crop farming and animal husbandry. By this period, people left the forest. They settled in fertile plains. Archaeologists call this period as Neolithic period. It is the period of stone tools. This period witnessed extensive clearance of forest. They used this cleared forest for the cultivation of crops. Modern man is the product of this period. It is during this period man started settled life. Agriculture along with animal husbandry ensured food supply. Thus, there is no need for gathering. Nomadic life came to an end and it was replaced by sedentary agricultural life. People began to identify ideal sites for cultivation and settled there itself. He made permanent settlements with locally available materials. He made small huts with stones, clay bricks and wood. They used tree leaves for roofing. Topography plays a prominent role in shaping the settlement style in rural areas. People constructed buildings mainly for residential purposes. Rural settlements are developed in ideal sites only. Physical environment determined the nature of these dwellings considerably. Fertility of the soil and availability of water are the two decisive factors in location. The dwellers of rural settlements are so conventional. These conventional beliefs are reflected in their customs and taboos. Interpersonal relations were very strong at that period. Thus, along with the spread of agriculture, small villages appeared in different parts of the world. Another important stage of evolution of human culture and also human settlements are the use of metals. Instead of stone tools, man began to use metal tools. First he used copper, then he used bronze, and finally he could apply the tools of iron. The use of metals brought out great refinement in human life as well as human settlement pattern also. The use of iron and metal tools laid foundation to modern technology. Its first implication was on agriculture itself. Agricultural operations are extended to different parts of the world with improved tools and techniques. Thus, population and settlements spread in different directions. More forest areas are cleared with improved metal weapons. Agricultural production increased tremendously. This led to the development of division of labor and formation of a diversified economy. This was a period of social organization also. Intergroup and intra-group interaction increased tremendously. This led to the development of trade and commerce. This changed the entire scenario of economy. This led to the beginning of markets for exchange of goods and services. Small urban centers began to develop. There were urban civilizations lived along the river valleys even around 5000 BC. Mohenjo-daro, Harappa and Indus Valley civilizations are great examples. Thus, by the end of Metal Age, human settlements were spread along more diversified areas marked with isolated townships. This period witnessed highly developed skills in the construction of buildings. Residential areas as well as commercial buildings were built with more planned facilities. The dwellings of cities were made up of strong, durable materials, and most of them were large in size also. Industrial Revolution is marked as a significant turning point in the evolution of human settlements. It was the most notable stage where human settlements and life pattern witnessed a revolutionary change. Industrial Revolution started in Europe by late 18th century. After that, its reflections spread all over the world. The main revolution was in the case of source of energy. The advent of steam engine and use of fossil fuels changed all facets of human life. Along with agriculture, industries became a major human activity. New sources of energy are used effectively in industrial production. Use of iron became most popular. Agricultural as well as industrial production increased considerably. By the time, a market economy began to develop all over the world. Main intention of agricultural production became sale in the market and not for consumption. More people engaged in other than primary activities. Division of labor and modernization of technology resulted into an exponential increase in industrial production. The advent of wheels brought out transportation revolution. This led to the growth of vehicles also. Carriage of goods and movement of peoples became more and more easy. Population numbers increased tremendously. Settlement areas expanded. Settlements became denser in industrial areas. Improvements in transportation communication reflected in life pattern of the people also. This change witnessed a rapid shift in settlement pattern. According to economic diversification, multiplicity of settlements are developed. Market and industrial areas began to grow as major urban centers. They began to provide secondary and tertiary activities mainly. Along with tremendous growth in number, quality of settlements also improved much by this period. The post-industrial period is widely known as the period of urbanization. This period is witnessed as the ever-increasing impact of modern technology in construction of shelters. People began to construct more durable and comfortable dwellings. The invention of cement and other improved building materials improved housing styles and patterns. Houses became the icon of social prestige. People began to invest more money on settlements. Developments in technology and invention of electricity together brought new dimensions in human settlements. Wide variety of electronic household equipments have been popularized. Cities became the node of multiplicity of economic functions. The role of urban centers changed markedly. Rural to urban migration intensified and people began to move from rural to urban as a mass. In urban areas, non-availability of space led to construction of multi-storied buildings. Settlements are built by more durable and likely materials rather than locally available raw materials. The constraints of physical environment became not at all a problem. They are overcome by technological innovations. Now, physical factors are having very limited impact on settlements and construction styles as the engineering technology has grown beyond that. Over-urbanization or the uncontrolled urbanization in developing countries is due to large-scale in-migration of rural people. Decreasing employment opportunities in rural areas as well as small urban areas has caused large-scale migration of rural people to urban areas. The huge migrant population in urban areas create stagnation and generate a pool of unskilled and semi-skilled laborers in urban area. This makes a lot of disturbances to urban occupational structure. Urban areas suffer from shortage of housing, transport, health and civic amenities. A large number of people living in substandard housing. Slums are great examples. Slums and squatter settlements are developing along the streets. Illegal occupants of people will be a great problem to urban planners and urban administrators. Social cultural problems are also another problem of higher rate of urbanization. Cities in the developing world are suffering from different social evils. Inadequate social infrastructure and basic facilities due to lack of financial resources and overpopulation are the major problems in the cities. The available education and facilities remain beyond the reach of the urban poor. Cities suffer from poor health conditions. Lack of employment and lack of education tends to aggravate the crime rates. Male selective migration to urban areas distort the sex ratio in the cities. There are certain environmental problems also. The large urban population in developing countries use and disposes a huge quantity of water and all types of waste materials. Many of cities of developing world are dumping all these waste materials to water sources. This will pollute water, air and land. The industrial and domestic wastage and its management is also a great problem to urban environment. An improper sewage system creates unhealthy conditions in cities. Massive use of traditional fuel in the domestic as well as industrial sector severely pollutes the urban air. The domestic and industrial wastages are generally dumped into the sewages or dropped into the water sources. This also will create a lot of environmental problems. Huge concrete structures of building create heat in the urban environment. Generally in geography, we will call it as urban heat island. Thus, we can see that growth of settlement is not occurred all of a sudden. The history and evolution of settlements are closely related to the cultural evolution of human beings. Different phases of human civilization left its own imprints on human settlements also.